Hello friends, Cheryl here with inkedpulp, and we are back with another Dephemerember. I am on day 2, floating pocket and bold numbers. And like I told you in the first video, this is all new to me. I have not done Dephemerember before, so I want to have a lot of fun with it this year. And what I am going to do is take these envelopes. Now, I started recording this video once, and my camera was set to take photo, not video. So I actually just, when I clicked the start button, I just took a picture. I didn't actually record anything, but I wasn't very far in. So what I did, I glued down the flaps, and that's where we're at. And I'm going to cover up to about no, that's not right. I'm going to cover up to like 7.5 inches of these envelopes, and I'm going to leave the rest of it for gluing. And what I'm trying to do here, I guess it doesn't really matter with the papers that I have today. Well, one of them it might. Because I'm just using kind of jelly prints. And I had already started cutting one paper. I've got one, this was actually a wipe-off page from ink. And then this is going to be the second page. This is a jelly print. So I'm just going to go 7.5, and I'm trying to cut off some of this white space here. I don't know if I need a full 7.5 inches, but if I don't, I can always cut off part of it once I get it on. Okay, so this is the second page. Now, each of these envelopes is a little different size, so I'm not going to cut the height until after I get it on. Okay, after I get it on, then I'll cut it down. And the third page that I have is a ledger. And so I need it 7 across, and I think I've just about... or 7.5. That is exactly 7.5. So I'm going to leave this kind of ragged edge. I am going to cut it off a little bit. So let's take, because this is really long, and I don't need it quite that long. And these can be fragile papers. It doesn't really matter because they're going to be glued down. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do with this is fold these over, so this is not the right way. So what I'm going to do is fold these over, and then we'll have a flap that comes up this way. Okay? So I want to... okay, I want to put this to this edge. Okay, that's what I want to do, to that edge. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So that's step 1. We got all our papers cut. Now we're going to glue them down. Let's start with this one. So I'm going to put the glue on. Well... you can put the glue right up to about there. And unless you're, well, I wouldn't use see-through type paper on these because you'll see whatever was on that envelope. This was a rush, first class mail. They were probably wanting me to subscribe to AAA or enroll in AAA. And I did many years ago. I belonged to AAA, but I don't anymore. All right, so here's the first one. I'm going to put it right at the edge and right at the top. Okay, we're not going to wrap it around the edge. That's why I wanted a nice clean cut, because I knew we weren't going to wrap it around, and I wanted it to go nice and clean. Okay. And I know we still have this part here. You'll see. You know what? I did that completely wrong. I was supposed to go this way. After I just went through all of that rigmarole to figure out which way I wanted it, I said I wanted the paper to go to the side where the X was. Silly me. I don't do well when I have to measure things, and I'm better when it doesn't really matter. Or if there's directional paper and I have to get it directional, holy cow, I'm bad at that. I always end up putting it on sideways or upside down. Anybody else have that problem? All right. It doesn't look straight, but it doesn't matter, because when we put the other paper on, we'll cover it up. Okay. So there's that one. Now let's do, let me find the best one. Nope, this is not. It's this piece. Okay. So I'm just going to have to put this one on. I've got a little tiny spot up in the corner that's not covered, but that's okay. So I want glue over to about here. And don't worry about if you get a little glue on the back, because we're going to glue paper to that side as well. So this is going to be a double pocket, but it is going to be floating. It's not going to be glued down or sewed down or anything like that. It's going to be a double pocket. All right. All right, now do with my little scraper tool. I just had it. These are going to be fun pockets, very colorful. Make sure we don't have any bubbles in there. All right, there's that one. And now the last one. Just going to go about to there. Let's get some glue on that. So it's getting really, really cold overnight and in the mornings. And my dog loves to be out front. She has a doggy door, so she can. Now I want to be careful, because this is going to be this one might not have been the best envelope to use, because, oh no, I guess it's okay. I don't want to glue down. I don't want to glue down the open window, and it doesn't have cellophane in it, so I just have to be careful not to glue it shut, because that's going to be the pocket from the top there. And let's put this on here like this. Yeah, the others didn't matter because they were not directional. Anyway, I started to tell you about my dog. So she loves to be out front because that's where she can chase squirrels and birds. They don't come in the backyard all that much. So she loves to be out front. There's no fence out there, but she stays right in our yard. She knows her boundaries and she doesn't wander, so that's good. But this morning she was bugging me to get out there, so I opened the door and I stood there with the door open just a little bit, and she walked out on the porch, she looked around, she turned around and walked back in the house. She's like, it is friggin' cold out here. All right, so I'm just going to cut off the excess paper now. Now, there are some variations to this that you can do, and I'll show you as we go along some variations that you can make. Come on over there. But we're not getting snow, thank goodness. I have heard that some people are just getting dumped on with snow. All right, there's that. So there's the front of our envelope. Of course, once we get it fixed on the back, we'll want to ink up the edges. All right, I have got some coffee dyed paper that I'm going to put. No, that's not. I'm just going to get some whole ones. I don't want to fight with one. I'll probably get two out of that one. That one's actually got some white in the middle of it. I don't know where I got those papers. I didn't make those. I bought those. Here's one I made though. And I know I made it because it has a crispy edge on it. All right. Let's now glue, and this is going to go all the way to the edge. Okay? Going to go all the way to the edge. Put that down there. And again, and rather than, well, I suppose I could cut it. I don't like to pre-cut things because inevitably I end up cutting it too short. And I just don't think that that is a good idea. This way, I know that I'll be able to cut it the way I want to cut it. And I won't it won't be too short. I hate when I cut things too short because it's such a waste of paper, because then, well, you either have to patch it up like a collage thing, and that's one of the options here. You could do a collage. I just wanted to do straight paper. guess it doesn't really matter which way I do it. And this is why it didn't matter whether that one flap was torn, because let me do this again. I didn't get it really straight. Because this paper was going to go over the top of it, so it didn't matter. You can cover up that tear. Iron out some of that crease. And where I initially pulled it up, I need to put a little more glue. All right, there's that one. I do have some glue on my desk. I'm going to take just a quick second here and clean it off. It's one of the things I love about using this tile. It cleans up so well. Okay, there's one. And there's another one. Oh, that's going to come off anyway. Let's glue this one. So I don't know how many people participate in Dephemerember, but holy cow, I think it's a lot. And I've always loved watching. Part of the reason that I never did it is I have a metals business where I make jewelry and home decor. And I would do a lot of shows in the fall and, up to Thanksgiving and stuff. And I would have a ton of custom orders that I had to make. And it would take me, I was working right up till, almost till Christmas with my orders. And so I really didn't have time to do Dephemerember. But I've largely retired from that business. I don't really do it anymore. So, okay, those two. Now let's do this. And so I have all this time now because I didn't do any shows, not a single one this year. And part of it was because really when I do shows, it's mostly in the fall. I mostly do it for the holidays. And as many of you know, I fell in July and broke my femur. Turns out I broke my femur on my right leg, broke a metatarsal bone in my left foot, and then I recently found out, we didn't know this at first, but after a lot of pain, ongoing pain in my back, the doc x-rayed it and said that I had also fractured my L3 vertebrae. So I had a lot going on. I was bedridden for a while, and then I was wheelchair bound for a while. A long while. And then I could walk with a walker. Then I graduated to a cane, and I am now walking on my own, thank goodness, although I still do have some pain. Now, you may have to go around it when this is all done and kind of put some art glitter glue in there. I did with my last one. At the edges, but then it stuck very nicely. All right. So I didn't really do any shows, so I don't really have any holiday sales this year. which means that I have all the time in the world. Okay, there's the front and back of our pocket. So there's some fluffy pieces in here where it didn't glue down real well. And so I thought, well, why not? Because who knows next year? I don't know if I'm going to keep up with the metals. I go back and forth on it. One day it's like, nope, I'm retired. I don't want to do that anymore. And then other days, I don't know. I want to get in there and do it. And what I don't want is to be beholden to it, because I am retired now. And I don't want to have a job that, I want to be able to pick up and go with my husband whenever we want to go and do something. Because even though I stopped working in corporate America in 2015 to focus on my business, my husband was still working. He was not retired. So I was home a lot by myself, and I had my metals business to keep me busy. And I loved it. But he's retired now, so we're able to just pick up and go if we want to. And I don't want to be at a position where I can't do that. I want to be able to pack up and go. Now, I'm not going to sew these. I didn't sew the other one that I made. You could if you wanted to. Just be careful you don't sew across the top and sew your thing closed. Okay, so there's everything. Like I said, we are going to have to go back. Like I can already see here that there's a little spot that the glue stick didn't stick. And what I do when I'm all done is I just go around each one of them and check all the seams and make sure that everything is down properly. But we'll do that later. All right, so here's the 3 envelopes. Now we're going to fold them. I wish these were more dry. Let me see if I can score them, and that might help. Fold them without wrinkling. So this is 8 3/4, and this is 1 1/8. So if I go to 1 1/2, so what I'm measuring is how much of a flap do I want on this. If I take, this is say 8 1/2, and I take 1 1/2 off, that's 7 inches. So if I turn this over, and half of 7 inches is 3 1/2. And if I score this at 3 1/2, it should be exactly what I need. Okay, so there's that. And then this is going to fold over this way. Okay, we're going to put something else on here, but there's our inside. Now, so we'll do that with all of these. We're going to do the compartmental making. And what I may do is just get it so that it's not quite so that it's not quite such a big tab. So about that 3 and not quite 3/4. I'm just trying to get kind of the middle here. If it's not exact, it certainly doesn't matter. Your envelopes can be whatever size you want them to be. All right. Now it's a lot of layers, so okay, there's that. And then there, it just kind of comes over there. Now I will overlap it so it doesn't, I'll overlap that flap paper just a little bit. Okay, there's number 2. This one needs just a little bit. About 3.5. That's why I turned it over. And for these, you can leave the, yeah, so that's a big flap. You can leave the inside. Well, you on the last one I did, I put decorative paper in there. And then I haven't done it yet, but I'll put some writing paper over the top of it. Yeah, this flap is really big. I probably didn't need it quite that big, but that's all right. That's all right. They'll all be a little bit different. All right. So there's that. Now, what we need to do before we start really getting all the other stuff done is we need to cut a little sliver off the top of these so that we open, because remember we glued that envelope shut. So these aren't pockets just yet. And I want the tiniest little sliver. I don't want much. Just the tiny. Come on. I didn't get it down there far enough to get it to the envelope, so I'll get it a little farther in this time. All right. Now I know that opened it. Yep. Okay, see? So we are open now with our pocket, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I had glued over where that open window was, because it would have glued the whole thing together. So, but I did it right, and amazing that I did it right. I make so many mistakes. Are you guys the same way? I make so many mistakes when I craft. I don't know if I just get so into it that I forget to pay attention, or I don't know what it is, but I just make a lot of mistakes. There we go. And where's the third one? Right here. But what I have found is that there are very few mistakes that cannot be fixed. There are some, like if you cut off, like if these were really directional and I cut off the bottom instead of the top, well, I suppose you could still fix it. You could put washi tape along the bottom where you cut it open by mistake and put an edge there or some fabric or something, and then go back and open the top. Okay, so here's our pockets. Now we need to put something here to cover this up, because these are going to go like this. And I have bags and bags of scrap papers that I'm sure we can find something to use. This one, I've got more. I've got more. Then there's more. Oh, that's a pretty one. It's sideways. Oh, that's exactly the right size. Which one does it work with, if any? That looks good. Okay, we'll do that one with that. Let's find something else. It's not big enough. Here's a pink and green one. Oh, that goes with that. Okay. And then the writing. Let's see what's going to go with the writing. How about, let's see what else I've got in here. Lordy knows I've got a ton of scraps. That makes it very neutral, but that would work. Actually, I may like this one better. This one has a little sparkle in it. You guys like that? I like that. All right. So let me put these away. I have more scrap envelopes than I know what to do with, but I'm thrilled when I get to use them. All right. All right. Now, once again, I'm just going to glue this down. And then I'm going to, I need to cut a sliver more. So most of the time I do it so that I can wrap the paper around. I don't really have enough on this to wrap it around. So, but because I have the other paper wrapped around here, it's going to give me a protected edge. So I just need to go right up to the edge. And I think I did put washi tape on the other one, right at this edge here. All right, so let's put, I'm going to use art glitter glue because this is getting thick and I don't want it to have a problem. Okay. Now, a floating pocket can be floating in many different ways. It could be something that just sort of wraps around the page and you might use a paper clip to hold it in place. It might be a pocket that's loose and you put it in another pocket or a tuck spot. So there's different ways that pockets can float. It may not go into anything. You may just kind of paper clip it to the top of a page so that you can unclip it and move it. So you can have pocket now. Now see, here's a mistake I made. I cut into the envelope a little bit and I opened it. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. It's just I've done that before though, and if that happens, just put some glue in it and glue it back closed again. All right, so there's that one. Okay. And then, see, this one goes over quite a ways too, so I don't need to worry about wrapping it. I can just cut it off right at the edge. So I'm gonna but I like having the flap be a little bit different color. Let's go with this part. Okay. And then I've got several spots here at the corners where it's coming up. That's perfectly normal. Like I said, we're going to go around the edges and put a little art glitter glue in those. Okay, there's that. And then there's this one. So how many of you in the comments let me know if you're doing Dephemerember and if it's your first time doing it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, there it is. It goes this way. All right, I'm going to put that right up to the edge, and then I am going to use some washi tape on the edge of that. All right, let's move all the scraps out of the way and put the garbage in the garbage. These are going to go back in those little envelopes of the little scraps I have. And I'm not going to need the paper cutter anymore. So there's that one. There's that one. This one is not quite, it's straight on the bottom, but it's not at the top. And since this is cut open anyway, there's no reason we can't cut it down a little bit. In fact, even that up. Come on. All right. Ah, perfect. All right. All right, so now let's see. Let's find some washi tape. I've got so much washi tape. There's some interesting things on there. Let's see if we can find what we need on here. I saw one on here that I really liked for the come on. Must have tried to use this once before and it didn't work very well because nope, I don't think that's the one I want. You know what? I think I want a solid one on this because it's got so much pattern, and I have the perfect solid color. Oops. Look at this lime green. Although this is not going to be wide enough because I want to cover all of this plus wrap it around. Well, maybe I can just do this because my paper ends. What I really want to cover up is where the paper ends. So maybe this will work. Yeah, I like that. All right, let's do this. So again, adaptability, that each one's going to come out a little bit different. And you can just adapt your process to, whatever your materials are that you're working with. All right, there we go. Oops. And I do put extra glue on because washi tape doesn't stick real well. Well, it doesn't stick long term. It may stick in the short term, but then it comes up. And I learned that the hard way when I went back to look at some of my old journals, and I found that, wow, these things aren't really stuck down anymore. All right, here's one. This one might work really nice. This is like a parking garage thing. But we'll use it. I'm finding that I really gravitate toward greens, and that green is rapidly becoming my favorite color. It never used to be that way. It used to be blue was always my favorite color. And then, I don't know, over time I've just been gravitating more toward the greens. And I'm not talking about like grass green. I'm talking about the more muted like this, like a sagey green. Something that's a little more muted. All right, there's that. All right. Oh, I put that on upside down. That's okay. We may have this one. This is how I did the first one. I had it, the flap over here, and then it opened like this. So that's what we'll do with this one, since I put it on upside down. Again, very few problems that can't be solved. And then I think this brown one, or this is a, maybe this one. This is like, it has pharmaceutical stuff on it. Nope, don't want that one. It doesn't match what we're doing here. Let's see, I knocked another one down. Let's see if, I don't see anything on that one. Let's just go with the original thought, which was this checkers, like a graph thing. Ooh, this is nice because I've got the lines that I can use to make sure it's straight. Now, if you wanted to, you certainly could put more washi tape around, You could go around the bottom, this side. You could put washi tape anywhere. All right, so there's that. Now we're going to have to think about closures at some point, but right now, the next thing that we need to do is do the numbers. The numbers. Let me get this bag out. So I've got some numbers here. And I'm thinking about doing numbers a couple of different ways. Like on this one, for example, let's look at this one first. Could do a 2 there and a 3 down there, make them kind of cattywampus. Because we do need to put the, oh, sorry for that loud noise. The stamp's not taking the ink all that well. It's supposed to look a little rustic. Okay, there's 2. There we go, I like that. And I'm going to put a 3 on there. Okay, 20. 23. Now what I might do, oh, look at that. Isn't that cool? There's my big numbers. So there's that. Wipe and wipe my hands off. And now on this one, I was thinking that I could make a little dangle and put an eyelet up here and have something dangle down with the numbers. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Now what I could do is go over it with some Sharpie if I wanted it. See, it's kind of wonky. It's not exactly straight. I love it. I love it. Okay, get out of the way, washi. And then on this one, so this one I want to make a dangle. Let me find some. That's not what I use. Had some, hang on. I had some little square, there they are. Some little square tags. Now I may want to make this a little bit smaller, but they're craft and they're heavy duty, and I've got 2 of them here. Okay. There we go. All right. Now I do want to round the corners on this. There we go. And I'm going to have it hanging there. And then I'll put a number in the middle, but I'm trying to think if I want some kind of very light paper behind the number. Maybe this? No. Maybe a book page? Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. All right. Okay. Put that, and I want it to go kind of like this on here. Nope, went the wrong way. The writing goes the other way. Like I said, I am so challenged when it comes to directional things. I do it wrong the first time, almost always, and then I get it right. Or I do something to make up for the mistake. I mean, if it was going the wrong way, it wouldn't have been the end of the world, but I didn't want it that way. Okay, the scrap's over there. And I just have my corner rounder. What do I do with it? There it is. All right, let's put this in here. This, and then I'm going to take this great big 6 down here. And I'm going to put the bigger. Go. Of course, I can't see anything through it because it's got, I don't know what that is on the other side. Let's hold this at the top. This is going to quite fit. At the top it's going to run off, but that's okay. I don't mind that. There we go. There's a number 6, and then I need to get my little crocodile, and we use the little So see, if you just look for your things that you already have in your scraps and just kind of laying around. It's not there. Yeah, let's let's do this bigger one because that little one was too little. This one will probably be bigger than the hole, but that's okay. We're putting an eyelet in it, so it doesn't matter. All right, so that color and that color. And we'll crimp it down. There we go. We're coming up on an hour. And I guess I can leave them at any point. That's the whole point of compartmental making, is that it you can stop at any time. Come on. There we go. And here's the other eye. All right, so we have this. And let's find a gold pen. And since this has a lot of black writing on it, I think I'm going to use a black one. That's black. Hey, come on. There we go. So that's like that. Okay, we got to ink it up around the edges, and I am going to use brown for that, not black. All right, and I think I'm going to have to stop here because, and again, the thing with compartmental making is that I can come back to this later. Let me do one other thing real quick. So there's my bold number on that one. Come on. This doesn't want to lay right. There we go. And this is now a floating pocket. So I have a pocket here that I can put something in. Okay. And I have a pocket here, and then I can close those up. Now, I may want to put something else on the front. I may want to just leave it. I will ink around the edges and do that kind of stuff, but that's the concept of my floating pocket. Now, this can go, I could take a bulldog clip. I've got some that aren't the super tiny ones. Whoops. They're small, but they're not super tiny. But I could take a bulldog clip and just clip this to the top of the page or the side of a page, because I might have tags sticking out the top. So I might have to go at the side of the page, which, hang on, I'll show you what that looks like. Here's my little memories journal. I was working on this earlier today. So if I have this, I can hook that on like that, and that's a floating pocket. Okay, that is a floating pocket. Or I could clip it at the top, or if I had a pocket or a tuck spot, you know, I could stick it in there too, and that also would be a floating pocket. That one's not big enough, but that would also make a floating pocket. Okay, so that's the idea. I didn't get them all made today, but that's all right. At the beginning of the next video, I gotta figure out how to get this to stay like I want it. At the beginning of the next video, I will show you these completed after I get them done. There we go. I want that to stay just like that. I'll have to crimp that with some pliers. All right, folks. Thank you for joining me and crafting along with my Dephemerember. Hopefully they're not all going to be this long. I really didn't want to make hour-long videos, but this one took a while, and I still have to, so I've got a number on this one, I've got numbers on this one, and then the numbers that I was going to put on this one, I was just going to use this stencil and put numbers, like here's big old 9. So that's what's going to go on this one, is a bunch of numbers, bold numbers. All right, folks, that's it for Dephemerember Day 2. Thanks for joining me. I can't wait now to go out and look at everybody else's. I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. And can't find my mouse on my screen. There we go. All right, folks, thanks. And I will catch you in the next video. Bye.